Okay, these were the topics covered in the morning class today. And there's a lot of them and a lot of words. And, this is just a review. It's not a lesson, so here's the words. All right. First of all, we talked about Trump and Moon Jae-in, that they're having a summit today, and that Trump is going to try to solve Korea's internal problems. We also talked about the fact that the press likes to attack Trump, or they come out against him, or they fire away at him, or fire questions at him. Attack is okay, but you can use other words. We talked about Korea's position, that a lot of the presidents since the 1950s the U.S. presidents have not wanted a united Korea. I disagreed with that. I think they do. I think the problem is China. My thoughts, who knows? But there's only one party system, the Chinese Communist Party. And maybe they don't want other parties. Then we talked about the Japanese invasion, or many Koreans moved to Manchuria and Kando because there was an independence movement there. Or the Japanese government relocated many Koreans to Manchuria during the occupation. And we started talking about Tibet and data, that China controls all of Tibet's data in the University of Tibet. Right. And then again, we talked about Manchuria again, and the Koreans there, the Korean history. It used to belong to Korea. We talked about these people and people being relocated. Gando, we mentioned. Right, just more on that in a minute. The Japanese invaded China. The Japanese inserted their army into China, planted their army in Korea. The gap between the rich and poor in China is not as strong as it is maybe in other places. The conflict is more about ethnicities or ethnic groups. These are languages and dialects. Right? China has many ethnic groups or ethnicities or peoples. Minjok. But the Japanese were there and they tried to plunder the resources or take the resources. So that's kind of different between China and Korea. There's a large gap between the rich and the poor. China has a different gap between the rich and the poor. It's actually more about the gap or the differences between the ethnic groups. Again, Minjo can be a people, a group, race. Race is more about like skin color, but ethnic is more about like culture and history and language and race. They transplanted their army. They planted a Korean independence movement. They put their army in. They planted their army. A lot of Koreans relocated. They changed locations. They moved to other countries. And a little bit more here about QR codes, that the QR codes have kind of taken over China. They don't use currency so much. This is Google wants to have data centers here in Korea. Then we talked about Machiavelli and was it The Art of War or The Prince? The Prince and the Art of War. You also mentioned how did China become? Trump is now asking, how did China become so strong all of a sudden? How did China gain all the power all of a sudden? Purse strings. This is the person who controls the money. Okay, the donjul, the money. He controls the purse strings.